They flatten out as they get older.
Yep.
Those kids.
We're on.
We are on.
Nice. Hey.
Hey. And welcome to a duo episode of AusTableTalk. So, how you doing? How you feeling about the duo-ness?
I love our duo episodes, honestly.
This is only the second one we've ever done, right?
This is the third one we've done.
Is the third one?
This is the third one.
Okay.
Yeah, so God's Strategies
Strategies.
episode 1.
Yes.
And then we did the Curse and the Fall of Man episode.
Oh, did we do that together?
Yeah.
Oh,
Right before I went on the trip. Yeah.
Right. I had forgotten about that one.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was good.
Ah, nice. Well, before we get into the topic, because I'm actually really excited about the topic tonight, but we were just talking about the fact that you are entering into a new role at your church.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to have the opportunity on air a little bit. So tell me a bit about what you're about to do, because I've got a question for you.
Okay, well, a little bit of background. So when I lived in New South Wales, I was going to Raymond Terrace Church, and I sort of fell into the role of taking the teen class. I don't remember how it happened, but it just became I was the guy who did the teen class. And it sort of developed from there into quite a successful ministry. And I mean, more because of the kids that were in the class. They were fantastic. Each and every one of them were awesome. And yeah, I was able to just really build that through the help of them, their parents, and most of all God, into a really successful class and ministry. And it was awesome fun, and I loved it. And then I had to give it up when I moved up here. And I don't know, I guess word gets around. They've asked me to take the teen class at Bundaberg Church, St. Andrews. And so I will be moving into that. I'll be taking the first teen class this week. And I'm really excited for it. I think the thing I'm struggling most with at the moment is relying on myself too much, because I've had success in this area in the past. I'm like,
It's pressure.
I've got this. I'm the man. And I'm trying my best to go, no, all of my success in that class was not of me. It was of God. And I do believe it was largely based on the kids that were in the class. They were fantastic. And I don't know these kids. I'm sure they're great. But yeah, I'm very excited.
That's cool.
So pray for me, pray for that class and those kids, and that we can, because man, and we might get into this in this, I know you've got a question, sorry. We might get into this in this episode, but like teenagers that's when you leave the church.
Yeah.
Like that's when almost everyone leaves the church, is when they're a teenager, you know? And so when I was taking the class down in Raymond Terrace, I felt that burden of like, man, like this is make or break right here. If I can, have any part in keeping them in the church, like praise the Lord. What a blessing to be a part of something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very cool.
Anyway,
well,
what was your question?
My question was,
did I answer it already?
maybe in a roundabout way, but you tell me. My question is, before you step into that role, like before you have your first experience there, as you're going to do this weekend, if you want to lay down something, like if you were to, like if all of those kids were here right now and you were to lay out, like, this is my dream for this class, like what would that be?
Yeah, I think I did answer. I think I'd like them to be in the place where they don't ever want to give up on God. Yeah. Because, man, I came so close to leaving the church when I was a teenager.
What was the pivotal thing that stopped that? Was it a single thing, or was it multivariate?
Multivariate, definitely. I think it was more of a case of there was a few things that were making me want to leave than, like, there was all kinds of reasons why I ended up staying, I think.
Right.
But there were a few more specific reasons why I was like, this is all nonsense. I'm getting out of here. And most of that just had to do with I don't know, poorly teach theology.
Yeah.
I think
That's a real problem. That's a real thing.
and I go, yeah, like, and I don't know. I feel like when you're a teenager, you're very observant, and you're in that stage of life where you're having very deep thoughts a lot of the time. Like most of your thoughts are deep, and you're really starting to figure stuff out for yourself instead of just being taught stuff. And I think teenagers enjoy a bit of deep thinking. I certainly did, and I found that when I've taught teenagers, they've always, like, you hit them with the really deep thoughts, and they go, whoa, and they eat it up, But then you get a sermon from an oldie who's just sort of ingrained in the traditions of men, and they're teaching the theology from this sort of standpoint of, oh, this is the way it's always been, and this is how I've always thought it was true, and so therefore it must be true because I'm too old and wise to be wrong. And as a teenager, man, you just go, oh, this is, I mean, this whole thing's nonsense. I'll just leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the big reasons why.
And inconsistencies in theology as well. It was a big thing, but yeah, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that's one of the big reasons that it's important for you to allow kids to see a broad range of Christianity.
100%.
Because if all they ever see is, old Brother Jones who gets up the front and, stands on his soapbox, if that's the only version, well, then they're never going to relate to that.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I wasn't in the process of leaving the church at this point. I had already sort of done my doubting phase, I guess you could say. But I remember the first time I ever went to like a large scale youth event was when I went to AYC. And so I was in my early 20s and I went there. There was like 800 people who were, young, vibrant, experiencing life, and the people who were up the front were telling stories about what God had done for them, and I could relate to these people.
And they were your age.
Yeah, they were my age. And I grew up in regional churches where yes, there were youth, but it was like there were 2 or 3 of us, and it wasn't exactly a large sampling. And I
grew up in city churches and I had the same thing.
Oh, really?
There wasn't many of us.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think it's one of those things where when you recognize that you're an atypical kind of person, like I know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea and I'm not like a lot of people. And so when you put me in a small group of people, the likelihood of me finding someone who's my kind of person is fairly low. I can be friends with anybody, but like finding people that I resonate really strongly with, I'm like, oh yeah, I see the gospel through that lens.
I get that.
It's rare, And so I think having that level of exposure was like, oh wow, this is so cool. Like my faith actually can look like that or like that or like that. So anyway, that's a bit of a sidetrack, but to get us like
I don't really want to end my story on that note that I sort of stopped.
No, sure, go for it.
Because it's sort of like a reasons why you should leave the church. But I think what kept me in the church mostly was where do I go? All right, well I experienced I went to youth Bible camp, Do and Dare it was called.
Yep.
Which is ultra conservative, very just a very conservative
camp.
Yeah. And the Holy Spirit was present throughout the entire thing, and you felt the presence of God, you felt it moving, children's lives were changed, even the adults who were there helping. Lives were changed, It was fantastic. But it was like, deep down I was like, yeah, but, they have all of these rules that are not in the Bible anywhere, like, where's this coming from? So I was like, well, this isn't it. But God was still there with them, And so you're like, well, God's definitely real, because I felt his presence and I seen him, moving like, you don't see him, but you see the effect of him, know? Yeah. And so I guess for me, the existence of God was undeniable from those camps the existence of God was like a 100% sure thing. There's nothing in the world that could convince me that God's not real. And that's from a lot of things, but it started there in those camps when I was a kid. But it also sort of was like a lot of things I didn't like about the church, but I was like, but they have God.
Yeah.
You know? So they're doing something right.
Yeah.
I need to find that. And then getting involved in ministry was a big thing, you know, because when you're door to door and you meet people and you have experiences and you see, you know, divine appointments and miracles. Like I gave a woman a study on a topic that I had no idea, I didn't know about. You know,
Just came to you?
It just came to me as I was speaking. You know, the Spirit was speaking through me, and that. What do you do with that? Yeah. And so for me as a kid, it was like, okay, I can leave the church, but I won't be ignorant to the truth. And so if I leave now, what am I? I'm in open rebellion against God. Is that what I want to do? That's a scary thought, right?
Yeah.
And then it's, you know, when you're a teenager, you go to church for your parents. And when I got my license, my parents were in a church transition phase, and I had the opportunity to keep going to church with them. And then a church was planted nearby. My parents weren't interested in going. And I said, I'm going to go to that one. And so I started going to church for me instead of going for my parents, and that changed everything.
Yep.
I think that was the biggest thing, was New Hope Church opened up in Sydney. The Aussie pastor, Lloyd Grolleman.
Yeah.
Love him or hate him.
He's a polarizing fellow.
He is. I actually lived with him for a while.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, for like 3 months.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, I started going to church for me instead of for my parents, and that was it. I was like, I'm never going anywhere. Like this is. I'm a Christian, you know.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, and then sort of, I don't know.
Yeah,
a theological journey went from sort of that point. Yeah.
I feel like this was a great place for us to start this episode, because like literally the idea that we wanted to follow is sort of what makes a man, you know. And I
want to leave this. What stopped you from leaving the church when you were young?
Me?
Yeah.
So
because you started touching on AYC?
Yeah. So it's interesting you asked that, because when you're a kid, you know, I co-opted my parents' faith, like you were describing. You know, okay, it's what we do, it's what we believe. We moved to Queensland, and let me take one step back from that. So when we were in New South Wales, we never really had a home church. We were church floaters, and we kind of just started getting settled into a church, and then we moved. And like I was just getting into like meeting the young people there and just starting to develop friends. Anyway, we moved. I was 16. I just turning 16, and we landed in a new place, and we went and was like, you know, let's try the church here. And so the place that we moved to, we went to the church there, and we literally had a conversation with one of the dear saints there the day that we arrived, which was something along the lines of, oh, you know, we just moved up, and she's like, oh, that's good. And okay, well, you know, we'd love to be helpful if we can, you know, if there's anything that we can do. And, you know, we were like, Mum said, oh, you know, like Luke's good with technology, and, you know, I can cook, and, you know, like just whatever you guys need, like we're here. The lady literally said, we don't actually need any help. We don't want your help. But if you want to attend, you're allowed.
Oh no, we're not going to kick you out.
Yeah, we're not going to kick you out. But we
definitely
don't want you though, you know. And like we went home, and that was that. We didn't go back to church.
And that was the only church in your area.
Yes, that was the only church
Small town.
in the area,
Classic.
small town. And so we just did our, you know, just sort of worshipped at home, did our own thing for a while. The interesting thing happened was, I don't know how much longer, I want to say 18 months-ish after this interaction, I woke up one morning and I I really just felt like I should be at church.
Mm.
And I went down to the kitchen, and it was Saturday morning, you know, and I said to my parents, I said, I actually feel like I'd like to go to church. And they were always very affirming of any stand that I wanted to make, especially towards God, you know, and
Yeah.
they were like, sure, let's get ready. We'll go right now. So we went to church. We arrived, and there was a new pastor that was being welcomed up the front as we came in. We arrived just after the service had started.
Nice.
And this whole interaction happened, and you know the pastor's wife was crying, and you know because it's the first time that she had to move away and leave her like you know just coming adult kids
Yep.
to study, and you know and she was saying up the front like God sent us here for a reason, and like I'm missing my family, but you know we're here, you know.
Yep.
And so my family were kind of like you know just sort of taken in by that, you know, like oh maybe God's got us here for a reason too.
Yep.
And I want to point this out in particular, this next thing, because I think it is a really powerful thing. Because remember, you said getting involved in church, like ministry, was a key thing.
Yep.
That was the first time that I'd been there since that first interaction I told you about. There was a guy who was standing near the back. His name's Phil Yeend, and he's a pastor now, actually, which is funny. But Phil at the time was just a retired guy that was serving on doing AV, and he had a conversation with me. He said, "Do you like technology and that kind of stuff?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Would you be willing to help me out occasionally on the AV?" I said, "Yeah, for sure." He's like, "How about next week?" And I'm like, "Okay." And so next week I get someone reads out from up. They must have just done nominating committee. I wasn't even baptized at that point. And they read out from up the front, oh, and Brother Luke is, joining the AV team. And I'm like,
Whoa.
what? Like, what just happened? Like literally, I had no idea what was going on. But from that week onwards, I was in the AV desk.
Get them involved.
And
there you go.
my parents, yes, they attended, but like they were not engaged.
Yep.
Like that they came sometimes, but I had responsibilities, and so I was there at like 9 a.m. every single Sabbath.
Yep.
And it got to the point where then someone gave me keys, and then I'm opening up, and then I'm and it was my church, it wasn't their church.
Yep.
And the minute it stopped being my parents' church,
dude,
I was in.
It's a thing.
Yeah,
it's a thing.
I was there. Yeah.
You got it. Yeah. Yep.
But you know what? I should say
And
something.
this is my whenever I see a teenage or like a early teen or preteen getting baptized, and almost every time you can go, they're getting baptized to make their parents happy.
Yeah.
And you can tell. Oh man, that really irks me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. How old were you when you got baptized?
Oh, I don't remember.
You don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah. That's what. Were you a teenager? Were you older? Were you younger? Roughly.
Might have been 14.
Pick a decade. Okay.
Might have been somewhere around that age.
Okay, sure.
Just I can remember the picture of me getting baptized. I'm like, how old do I look in that picture?
Yeah. Okay. Well, because we didn't have a church home. Like there was no direct on ramp to you're getting baptized, right?
Yep.
And we attended a North Australian big camp.
Okay.
And during one of the programs there was a call for baptism, and I was like, sign me up. And I was touched, spirit moved. I was 17.
Yep.
And I went down the front, and someone spoke to me that took my details, and I was already living in this new place that I referenced earlier.
Yep.
And they took my details, and they're like, Pastor will be in touch with you. I'm like, great, thanks. And no one ever was. I slipped through the cracks.
That's trouble.
Yeah. But the thing was, I sort of wrestled with God over that, because I'm like, I really wanted to get baptized, but it didn't work out. And so I said to God, I was like, God, I remember where I was still. I was in my bedroom, and I was kneeling down, leaning on my study desk. And I'm like, I said, God, I put my hand up and it didn't work out. So it's your responsibility now. Mm-hmm. So like, if you want me to get baptized, you figure it out. You go ahead of me and organize it, because you already know my intentions.
Yep.
It's now your responsibility. It's dumb prayer. I don't know why I prayed that, but I at that point I let it go. I'm like, okay. Fast forward to when I was, I think I was almost 20, so I was 19. And I got a phone call from the pastor that had really looked after us. As I said, we were church floaters in New South Wales.
Yep.
he was a pastor that had sort of noticed us across the churches,
Yeah.
and he took it upon himself to really, look out for us, which I really appreciate. He would come visit and stuff. And he called me up, and I hadn't spoken to him for years. And he's one of these guys who talks really fast. He's always like thinks the best of everyone, and he's always in a flurry of activity. It's just the kind of guy he is. And he called and he's like, "Oh, Luke, how you doing, son?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good, Larry." And we had this conversation. He said, "I was praying this morning. I was just thinking, have you ever been baptized?" I'm like, "No." And he's like, "Excellent. So you know what? I was thinking about this. He had cancer at the time. He was getting very close to the end of his life, and he's like, I'm like timing this in my chemo cycles, and I reckon I could get up there, for you to get baptized somewhere around August." He said, "And that's plenty of time for you to talk to your local pastor and get the studies out of the way. So that should be fine. So anyway, but you know what? I reckon this is the best decision you've ever made. I'm so happy. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this decision. This is beautiful. I'm so happy for you, son." Click. And
he's off to call the next person.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
I hung up the phone, and I remember thinking to myself, if I hadn't already prayed to God, go ahead of me and organize this, I would be tempted to be mad with him. But I wouldn't dare under these circumstances.
Oh dear, you got to be careful challenging God, because he'll probably answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And so anyway, and that's exactly what happened. I had Bible studies, and I got baptized, and it was it was August in what was that? When I was 20. So it was but that was it. And from that point forward, I was just like, "Oh well, God, I'm in." I need to be engaged in ministry. And they were doing church elections right after that, because at the end of the year, and I think I had 4 roles, and they were using me up after that. And that was it was like a drug. Then I was like, I'm here. So, Anyway.
Oh, that's awesome.
Actually, in contrast, though, I'll say one more thing. In contrast to that, there was another family that their kids were a lot younger than me, and so I was already really engaged in church by the time I observed this happen. But they were a family where they were helicopter parents in the spiritual sense, that they wanted to be their kids' Sabbath school teachers. And then when their kids went up a grade, they went up a grade and they taught that, And I don't think there's anything wrong or immoral about that, but the objectives was to shepherd their children.
Yep.
And those kids, they would have paid money to escape.
Yep.
And the 100%. Minute that they could, they did.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that it's the parents' fault, but what I'm saying is if you don't allow the kids the ability or the space to make their own relationship with God, then
they won't have one.
It was just never going to happen.
Won't have one.
It's just never going to happen.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, I had a lot of friends I had a lot of friends in church when I was that age, and just the age of social media, everyone was on Facebook when I was early teens. And you just sort of slowly see them all leaving. You go, "Oh, so-and-so's out of the church. Oh, they're out of the church. Oh, there they are at a club drinking. Oh, blah, blah, blah." You go, "Oh, man, everybody's leaving." And it was always the really sheltered kids. Not always, but
often, though.
Often. The really sheltered kids, the ones that the parents were really try and keep them away from sin, keep their eyes away from seeing anything unholy, and they just become curious.
Forbidden fruit syndrome.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I've wrestled with this for my kids, right? I think about my son's Seth's 8 and Josiah's 6. I think about that. Sometimes there's times and I'm like, yeah, okay, different ages, this means different things, but how do you adjust the mix? How do you
trouble is
walk that line?
Everybody's different. So I think to myself, okay, what did my parents do that made me want to, that kept me in the church, and what did they do that made me want to leave? Because I'll do the things that worked, and I'll make sure not to do those things.
It's not that simple.
But my kids aren't me.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
They're different.
Yes.
It's just, man.
Do you know what the chief thing that my parents did?
It's a very worrying thing. Yeah.
Do you want to know what the chief thing that my parents did that made me want to stay in the church?
What's that?
They weren't in it.
They weren't in it.
Yeah. So for me. And my parents may even listen to this episode, and they will agree with me that when I was joining the church, they were all for me getting baptized. But the joining of the church and getting involved in the board, doing those things, mum in particular was like, once you're in that system, then you become like them, like, and my parents were hurt by the church. And so like, I understand where she was coming from. Like, they'd had some really bad experiences in the past, but the fact that it actually felt like some kind of rebellion for me to actually go and join it and be involved in it at that level made it slightly more attractive to me, and so I think that about my kids. I'm like,
rebel,
yeah, I know. And that's the thing. As a kid, I was the anti-rebel. Like I was the good kid who did all the good things, but in that moment, in doing that, it made me uncomfortable because I didn't want to do something my parents thought was unwise, but at the same time, like it gave me the space to go and just be in that, and build an identity. And so, but I think about that with my kids. I'm like, I'm the guy that is involved in church. Like, how do my kids grow up without feeling like, oh, this is dad's church. I'm in dad's shadow. This is what dad would want me to do. Like, how do you avoid that as someone who is involved in ministry? You know?
Yeah, it's tricky.
And how did that work for you by virtue of the fact that you were going to a different church? Because your dad obviously being a pastor, right? So you grew up in a ministry home.
Yeah. Dad's an evangelist.
Yeah.
So I grew up going to evangelistic series campaigns.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's as close to the action as you can get.
Probably to 100 of them,
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I can't speak for my brother, but it seems to me like the evangelism and going to those campaigns as a kid really helped him. I don't think it really kept me in the church at all. Like once I understood it, I could hear it a million times, and I'm not gonna because I'm hearing Dad the same preacher
it's
every
still
time.
Dad.
Yeah. So I'm not getting anything more out of it the more I listen to it. And I don't know. I've always been a very difficult person to brainwash, indoctrinate, So repeating things to me repetitively isn't going to convince me that they're true.
It's just going to annoy you.
It's just going to bug me. That's right. And it did. And I don't know. I'm probably wrong about this, but like the way you said, once you're in that system, you become like them. For me, it felt like my father's ministry was, in a way, and I think I am wrong about this, but it sort of felt to me like, oh, we've got to get them into the church and then turn them into us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is the same as what your parents were saying, and I don't know. I never really liked that. But and so for me going forwards, I'm like, no, I just want to show people Jesus. And let him shape them into the type of Christian that he wants them to be. I don't like the idea of going, come to our church and become one of us, one of us. That never sat well with me. I don't know. I've always been very different from the people around me when it comes to ministering in that aspect. It's like, no, I just want to show you the truth, because the truth sets you free. The church doesn't set you free. The truth sets you free. And when you have the truth, you want to come to church. So come to church. Church is great. I love church. I've loved every church I've gone to, and I can see the issues with the church. And I'm like, there's the issues with the church. I don't care. I don't worship the church.
Yes.
I worship God. He's got no issues.
Yeah.
He's perfect. So
that pastor that I mentioned who baptized me, Pastor Larry, he preached this sermon, and it still lives with me today. It still lives rent-free in my brain. He preached a sermon on Noah's Ark, and he was using it as a metaphor for the church.
Yeah.
And he said, do you think for a second that Noah's Ark was perfect and never sprung a single leak? Like, no. You can bet that as the water came up and it pitched to the left and it pitched to the right, that, there's a leak over here. Let's go over there with the bucket of pitch and, fix it up. This would have been...
Shem just got crushed by an elephant again.
Oh, there we go. Right. Exactly. And he's like, that is the church. The
Yeah.
church is not perfect. The church has leaks. The church has large animals that defecate on the floor. Like it's like there are issues. There are. Oh, sorry, I don't know why I was going there.
Yeah, that analogy caught up with me too slow.
But the point was that is the church that Jesus died for, and
100%.
and we need to view it through that lens. And
Yep.
I don't excuse the people who do bad things in the church. They need to be held accountable.
100%.
But that is not the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the scriptures are perfect because they're God's word. God is perfect, and we worship Him. And the scriptures give us great counsel on how to deal with church issues. You know.
Yeah.
And we never use them. I don't think I've ever seen
Very
anyone
rarely.
use them. Very rarely. But I have seen them be used, and it works great. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we just need to get away from traditions, man.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Because I feel like the traditionalism of the church and church issues is the number one thing driving people away. Because once you get to know God, once you get to know Jesus, like, what's going to draw you away from that?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just people, the devil,
Yes.
using people.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yep. And you know what's a really you just said something that triggered a thought. One of the things that when I talk to people, like there are people that I know and who I think are lovely Christian people, and they leave the church easily. You know, that they get offended, they leave, oh, I can't be here, or I can't worship here for these reasons, or whatever that might be. And I was reflecting on my own experience. I've never felt that.
No, me neither.
Never. And that doesn't mean that I'm right and they're wrong, but I was trying to distill why. Like, what is it about my makeup that means that doesn't even cross my mind as a possibility? And the conclusion that I drew is that I don't see the church as belonging to the pastor or belonging to the board or belonging to it's my church. And like, if I leave, that just,
Well, how's that going to help?
how's
the church?
that helping the situation, right? And like, if there's somebody else and I'm looking at them and I'm saying, man, they're misrepresenting what the gospel looks like. They're misrepresenting Christ. If I leave, all that means is the next guy who walks through that door is going to see even less of what they should be seeing. That's not to say that I'm exactly like Jesus, but what I'm saying is,
no, I get what you're saying.
if I'm leaving and leaving it to the people who are, being difficult, then I'm just, I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater. So anyway, this is
being difficult as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, this has turned into a big church politics discussion.
I think it's actually been really good.
It
So
has been good.
I don't think we need to like go back. We can
We've
save.
upset some people.
Yeah, that's okay. I don't mind.
Stepped on all the toes.
But I actually think it's helpful. Actually, you should tell your class to listen to this episode.
Okay. I'll tell them to listen to every episode.
Yeah.
Hey, I've got a podcast. Listen.
Yeah, there's only 300 of them. You should be done quickly. But like, I just want to like weave into some of the ideas that we were planning to go to. Not all of them, but I think there's one that's helpful here. The mentorship idea, right? We've talked about a lot of our experiences of why we stayed in the church. But as you think back in your experience, who have been the mentors that assisted you the most? And I'm not saying this has to be specifically spiritual mentors, but like who would you say have been the?
Listen, in my story, they've been lacking big
Yeah.
time. If I'm going to be brutally honest, as my mentor,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I really missed out on mentors in the church. I had teachers that were good teachers. They became good friends, a lot of them. I always had the same pastor,
Yeah. Your dad.
my dad.
Yeah.
So obviously my dad was a mentor, as every young man says.
As hopefully,
hopefully,
every young man has.
Yeah. But I sort of, I'm just trying to be the mentor that I never got to have for the people that God puts in my path.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
Because I could have used a few. definitely.
Mhm.
A lot of times. Uh,
When was the first time that you remember noticing that? Like, as in
uh,
thinking, oh man, I really, that's an area that I'm lacking.
Probably when I wrote when I went to Arise, I wrote down my testimony, and I thought to myself, man, I really, like, there wasn't anyone that made such an impact on me. It was all my own sort of thoughts bouncing around in my head, and then praying, and then waiting for God to answer. I think God was my only real mentor.
Yeah.
He's the best one.
It's the best one, for sure.
But I never was. I don't know. I guess I just didn't listen very often. But I never left the church, so it all worked out for me in the end.
Interesting. See,
But like I said, when I started the teen class, and when I was down south, I started taking these young fellas under my wing, and mentoring them. A couple of young fellas that were really into cars, and when I was a young fella really into cars, I just wished that I knew an older fella who had a big garage that would let me use it. And so I said, all right, yeah, fellas, come on. If you want to work on your car, I've got a garage. You can come work on it here. Yep. We'd hang out. I'd fix their cars. We'd chat. And I just really enjoyed being that guy, because that was the guy that I always wish I had when I was young.
Yeah.
You know?
I think we all find the thing that we were lacking, and then we go trying to be that.
Try to be that. Yeah.
I think that's
I don't think we all do that.
Well, but I feel like it's a natural thing though, at least I can relate to that, right?
Yeah.
So I think from my experience, my family was very much a very tight family, and because we didn't have like a church home, my parents were definitely the key influences in my life, especially through my younger years. In hindsight, if I had to replay that, there were a few people who were my parents' friends that that sort of became my uncles and aunties, so to speak, that I learnt lessons from without realizing that I was. One of them is Uncle Fred. I actually got to see Uncle Fred last weekend, and I haven't seen him for like many years. And so he's in his mid-70s now, and so it's been a long time since we've caught up. But our families hung out together a lot when we were younger, and I saw the hard work that he put in, and he is good friends with my parents, but very different from my parents, the way he processes the world, right? And so I remember not understanding the way he thought about life, but appreciating it. And I think that was one of the first times that I realized, oh, hang on a second, there's more than one way to slice the apple, So I see him, but I actually found more mentors as I became an adult, because then I realized the areas of my life where I needed that, And so at varying times, just to point out a couple, I mentioned Phil Yeend, who was in the AV seat. He was a mentor to me, again, without me realizing it at the time, but he was one of the elders at that church. And I saw some things happen to him that decisions the church made that were very hurtful and very unfair. And he handled it like Jesus, man. Like, he loved those people. The very next Sabbath, he accepted the unfairness and didn't defend himself. And I saw that, and I'm hot under the collar. I'm 20 and I'm ready. I'm like, this is unjust, And I watched him, and I'm like, yeah, that is how Jesus would have taken that, and that informed how I responded in similar situations in my future. Another one that I'll mention is Pastor Larry, who baptized me, and Pastor Frank also baptized me, because he was the local pastor of the church. Frank believed in me ahead of anybody else, that was in the church.
Yeah.
I remember the wisdom of this is controversial, even for me, but I was 22 and I had just I was on this ministry high. I'd been to AYC and I'd been like, oh man, this is amazing. And I was so charged up that I would go and study or go to work, and then I'd knock off work and I'd go door knock for 2 hours and then go home just because I could, and get people Bible study in the community. And it was nominating committee. And he said, oh, I was on the nominating committee as well.
Right.
And he's like, we should make Luke an elder. And you could see all the faces like of everybody else at the table, like, we're going to do what now? Like,
But he's not old.
yeah, exactly. But he's like 22, you know? And even I looked at him like, are you serious? And he's like, no, I'm serious. And he was this black American guy, and so he was loud. He spoke his mind, and anyway. So in this really Southern American accent, he said to the group of people there, he's like, "What? Are you telling me that you're happy for him to be up the front preaching your sermons, doing your Bible studies, teaching your Sabbath schools, and out in the community doing Bible studies that you should be doing, and you're not going to call him an elder?" and everyone was around the table was like, "I guess it's okay then."
Yep.
Like it was just like,
And you were like, yeah,
yeah,
that's a good point.
yeah. Anyway, and so I was like, I need to pray about this. Like, I don't want to say yes. Like, I feel like it felt like I was saying like, oh, I'm better than other people if I accept it, you know?
Yeah.
And so I sat on it for a while. I was like, I don't know if this feels right. But anyway, I couldn't find a reason not to. And it was like all I wanted to do. Like all I wanted to do was ministry. And so I was like, I guess I'll say yes, you know? And so I became an elder. There were other people that objected in the church. But Frank was just, he was my bulldog. Like he protected me from any of that.
Yep.
And, you know, and it turned out to be great. Like, I mean, it was a great experience for me. I learned a lot. And, but yeah, like that was Frank. And now there's been like a long gap. You know, Frank passed away not that long ago. And that was like, you know, when you're getting to that age where people that you consider to be, you know, mentors or influential in your life, you know, are passing away. And I'm sort of in that phase at the moment. And really hit me hard when he passed on. But I realized that, you know, since him, I haven't really had a lot of mentors. You know, I've sort of been, you know, just sort of, you know, going through life, kind of like you were saying, like where I'm sort of relying on God, you know, and yeah, anyway, I don't know. But just not that long ago, a few months back, there was a situation where I got to connect with a guy. It was not in the context of any kind of mentorship. It was actually, you know, professional. Well, it was networking sort of a thing. And this guy's he's a pastor. His name is Bill, and he holds he's retired now, but he held a very, very influential position in the global church. And we were talking to him, and he was just a really pastoral kind of a guy. And we were talking about other stuff, and he just started going and asking me like really like personal questions about, not in a prying way, but like, you know, what are you struggling with? How can I pray for you? You know? And I was really taken aback because sorry, I know I'm talking a lot.
No,
but just to,
I'm listening a lot. So it's okay.
I think we're taking turns. Like but I had this experience with him, and at the end of that call, I after I hung up, I said to my wife, I said, I haven't felt like ministered to by somebody in years. You know, like when you're involved in ministry in a local church setting, pastors are like, oh, like he's an elder, or he's a teacher, or he's a whatever. Like, you know, I've got other people who are, you know, needing my attention, and they don't, you know, not assumed that you're going to be one of those people. And I don't think I've ever asked or desired them to, but as a result, you're just never that person.
Dude, I'm a pastor's kid. I never got anything.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's always assumed that he's good.
Yeah.
It's taken care of.
Yeah. And so that was me, but just not as a pastor's kid. And so I had this experience with...
I get it, 100%.
Had this experience with Bill, and he's like, you know what? Like, if it's helpful to you, you know, I'd be happy to like journey with you. You know, can we like catch up next month? And I was like, yeah, like, absolutely, you know, and that has been a real blessing. So I think no matter what season of life you're in, God has these little people, I think, that pop up when you need them.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think in your experience, you know, there's still more mentors ahead of you.
Yeah, yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just thinking back on what I had said while I'm listening to you, like, I still think that I didn't really have any mentors, but I did have people that maybe I seen the way they were and thought, oh, that's a good example of a godly man.
That's passive mentoring. It's still mentoring.
Yeah. Or there were times where someone would say something that really stuck with me. But yeah. But yeah, I get what you're saying. When you're in ministry, nobody ministers to you, and you need that sometimes. And like I said, I don't think anyone's really tried to minister to me since I was probably a kid in the kids' class, and then you know they're ministering to a class, so it's really sort of not the same thing anyway.
I actually think that our culture.
I've never
has a lot to
felt,
it.
yeah, definitely.
Sorry,
I've never felt lacking in the love of God. So, you know,
yeah,
I mean, what can you be upset about?
Yeah. Well, just to go back on what I was saying about the culture thing, I think in other societies, I was chatting to someone who has spent, many years in other cultures, and they were describing to me some of their experiences and how in this culture that I'm blanking on exactly which country it was. It was in Asia. I think it was South Korea. Anyway, someone can fact check me on this, but they were saying how it was a really interesting change in their outlook because it was not impolite to ask people's age. And the reason was that if you were a certain amount of years older than a person, then even how you speak to them, the language you use changes. And if they're more than such a number of years younger than you, the language changes. And so it just purely based on age.
And in Asian countries, it's very hard to tell what age people are.
That's true. They've got
So
some
you
benefits.
gotta ask.
Yeah.
You got to ask. You don't know how old they are.
Yeah. But that is it's like this social structure of mentorship of like, I'm deferential to you because you're of this class, Whereas in our culture, that doesn't happen. And the minute that someone tries to put themselves in a place of mentorship over you, you're like,
yeah,
are you serious? Like, I'm on your, I
don't need you.
I don't need you. I'm on equal footing, And so I think we make it hard on ourselves to have those interactions culturally,
Yeah.
How do you think about that with the kids that you have mentored? Like, how do you navigate that? Because I'm sure you don't like overtly go to them and go, I'm accepting mentee applications.
No. No.
Yeah.
I don't know. You sort of, I feel like God's put a couple of young men in my path through my life that I have been able to resonate with and sort of just sort of empathize with, and then go, well, I see myself in you when I was your age, and this is what I never got to have, and so I'm going to try and be that for you, even if it's something they maybe already have.
Yeah.
I mentored this young fella named Joey for a while, and then eventually got to have the pleasure of going into the waters of baptism with him and being there with him when he got baptized. And he had heaps of mentors. He didn't need me.
Yeah.
But it was, but I was one of them,
Yeah.
And it was good for me too,
Yeah.
And I feel like in a lot of ways he mentored me as well, like we sort of grew off of each other, which was awesome. He's a fantastic kid, and I know he listens to this, so shout out to him. And a couple of other young fellas that have come along, and you just try and be like, I just want to show you. I was reading a verse not long ago. I can't try and remember what it said. But it's, one of those verses from the Bible where it says, we do the good works to glorify God, because when if by the good works that we do, God is glorified through us by the people viewing the way that we live, then that's why we do it,
Yeah, that's the whole point.
That's the whole point. And so if you can, and I think that's what mentorship is, if you can show someone the love of God through the way you live, then they'll want more of God. Not they don't want more of you. It's not about you. You know.
Yeah.
I want to live in a way that people want to be like God. I don't want to live in a way that people want to be like me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Paul said, like,
I
emulate me in as much as I emulate
exactly.
Jesus.
Perfect example from the scriptures. Yeah, like if I can live in a way that represents God in a good way, that will make people want to be more like God and get to know God more. Good. But if then they go, oh, I want to be like you and get to know you more, well, then I've done something wrong.
Yes.
You know, and I probably
You're starting a cult.
I'm starting a cult. I've got a bit of pride.
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit arrogant maybe, you know. That's not what you want. So, you know, there's place. That's sort of what I strive for. If I haven't been in that position for a while, not really since I've moved up here.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I was down south, there was a lot of that going on for me, and it was good for me.
I guess a lot of your mentorship energy gets poured into your kids now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
I think that's a life stage thing. I felt like
I've got time for more people though.
Oh, absolutely. But what I was just saying is, like, I know up until I'm going to say maybe 12 to 18 months ago, I even said this to Sarah. I'm like, I feel like I have this burning desire in my heart to be helpful, to be useful, especially to people who are younger, because you want to help people with the things that you had to figure out, And I said to Sarah, I feel like an untapped resource. Like and I don't understand why I don't have these opportunities, And it was so weird. It was like I said that, came out of my mouth, and then God went, oh, like, okay, sure. Like maybe we were just unclear on the expectations. And, these people started popping up that I was able to help, and and helping them, like you were saying, help me. Like it was like, oh, like I'm engaged in ministry, and like I'm co-laboring with them and with God, and this is an amazing thing. I think we're designed for that. We're designed to lean on each other. I heard a guy. This wasn't even in a spiritual context, but I heard a guy saying you should always be looking for 3 relationships. You should be looking for somebody who is 10 years further along than you. So like somebody further along so you can get perspective. Somebody who is a peer mentor to push you, because no one can push you like a competitor. Someone who's next to you, and someone who's like 5 to 10 years behind you, so you can smooth the path for them. Like they're the 3 kinds of mentorship relationships that you should always be on the lookout for. And it always stuck in my mind, and I feel like I'm fulfilling that now better than at any other time of my life, I think. And it's a cool experience. Maybe just for us to wrap up, how a fun question for us to, I think, finish on is, what age would you say your experience, let's say, was the most volatile?
Volatile, what's that mean?
As in like the most prone to going the wrong way. What age? Place me.
Between 12 and 16, probably.
Okay. Let's say 14-year-old Emerson. You have an opportunity to give one piece of advice to 14-year-old Emerson.
Don't. Man, I'd have to think about that for a very, very long time. I would probably say, without having much time to prepare.
I just came up with the idea just now, so it's not like I could have given you the time.
I would say, don't judge God based on his followers, because that's where I was at that age.
Yeah,
was like, oh, these Christians are a bunch of idiots,
Yeah.
Like I've got it figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always been a very opinionated person.
How lucky for you at 14 to have everything figured out.
I know, I had it all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, my opinions haven't changed much since I was 14. So
okay.
Either I'm still completely wrong, or maybe I did have it kind of figured out. No. Obviously, I've grown a lot since then. But yeah, that's where I was at that age. But I don't think I need to tell myself that at that age, because I figured that out pretty soon after that sort of area that I was in. I figured it out pretty quickly. That was sort of one of the big things that I figured out, that sort of was like,
Yeah.
don't worry about them.
Yeah, I can move on from this.
That's right. I felt the love of God, and if I'm not getting it from them, then I'm looking for it in the wrong place, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's sort of what I was struggling with at that age, but I don't think I need to tell myself that at that age, because I did figure it out pretty quick.
So what would you have told yourself that you didn't figure out soon enough?
Man, I need more time to think about that.
Well, if you come up with something, feel free to insert it. I'm going to riff on this because I'm not 100% sure where I would land.
Is this something you've thought of already? Okay.
No.
So you might have a better answer.
Yeah, well, I don't. I'm sort of like just giving.
But where were you most volatile, to use your word?
I had 2 bands.
Bands?
You like ranges of time.
You started some bands?
Yeah, I had a rock band. Yeah, probably in like 17 to 18, that sort of area. That was just before I got involved at church in that experience that I shared earlier.
Yep.
I really didn't have that many people that I was connected with, but the couple that I was connected with, they were headed in a direction that didn't seem healthy to me.
Yep.
But they were my only friends. And so it didn't feel like it was difficult to resist that, right? Yeah. And I was also, I wasn't going to church regularly, wasn't around. I mean, my parents were certainly Christians, but like I wasn't around community, that spiritual, having those spiritual conversations, or it wasn't my faith.
Yep.
And I also had just gone through a phase where the thing that I thought I wanted to do, like the thing I thought I wanted my career to be, I just found out that I hated.
Yeah.
And so like I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. Yep. It was like career, no idea, church, disconnected, friends, not much, and the ones I've got aren't healthy. Yep. And so that was where I was at. And so I think if I could go back to that version of me, I would say a few things, but I think the foremost would have to be take more calculated risks, because I was way too risk averse. And so I was like, I'm just going to wait for life to happen to me. And so I think if I had taken more positive, well-calculated risks, I think I would have figured stuff out a lot faster.
Yep.
And the second time frame that I would point out would have been like 23-ish. 22, 23. So when I got into church leadership, I fought it. I was conscious of it and I fought it, but there were some people who were very, very conservative, critical conservative kind of thinkers that got into my ear around that time. And it really put me in a place where I was being super judgmental of the people that were around me. That damaged some of those friendships.
Yep.
And it got to a place where I quit all of my church responsibilities because I knew that I was wrong about something, but I couldn't nail it. I didn't know what it was that I was wrong about. I just knew that I didn't look like Jesus, and I was looking less and less like Jesus the further I got. And so I jumped out of all church-related things for 2 years. And in that band, I just felt really dead, just really spiritually dead. If I could go and talk to that version of me, I would just be very encouraging that, God is so much better than you think. And I think I had way too small a view of who God was and how good he was.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's my answer. If I thought about it long enough, it might change.
I think something that took me too long to figure out was like the difference between salvational and non-salvational issues.
Yeah.
Because I always took issue with like people making a big deal of something that was really just not a salvational issue. So it doesn't matter if they make a big deal or a small deal out of it, because it's not a salvational issue, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah, people taking things too far, you know, and or then on the opposite side, people just not taking things seriously enough.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, they're missing the mark. You know, read your scripture, people. You've got it all wrong. And then you go, hang on. I know these people. They know God. They love God.
Mm-hmm.
They pray to him. They read his word. They have a relationship with him. They believe in him. They have faith. You know, like, how can I say that they're not going to be saved because they, you know, think that jewelry is a sin? You know, jewelry is not a salvational issue.
Yeah.
So I just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
They can have their opinions.
Mm-hmm.
They can be wrong about some stuff, you know?
Yeah, give them the right to be wrong.
Give them the right to be wrong about the stuff that isn't important.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And let them wrestle with that in their own time. But yeah, that I got hung up on that a lot. You know? Anyway.
Well, anyway, I think this has been a really fun discussion.
It has been fun.
It has been good. So let's leave that there. But I want to.
I just want to say.
Yes.
Like, remember, like, the people that we interviewed the time, Nats and her crew, right? Far liberal end of the spectrum, right? Hip hop, rap, fully in love with Jesus, right? Fully invested in the ministry, right? And then that camp that I went to, that I mentioned when I was a kid, fully opposite end of the spectrum, right? Dress code, health code, got to do this, got to do that, got to do this, got to do that. Rules, right?
Yep.
They knew God, they loved God, they were filled with the Holy Spirit, you know?
Yeah.
So it just doesn't matter where you are, I don't think.
Okay.
On the liberal or conservative spectrum. Because there's people on both ends
that love Jesus.
That are invested in ministry. And, you know, we're going to see them in heaven.
Yeah.
And so just, you know, I think maybe that's what I would tell my younger self. With a bit more thinking about it. Yeah.
It's a very good one. It's a good message. Well, we will leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. It has been fun. And if you have anything that you think we should be talking about, or you'd like to hear us, you know, say heretical things about, let us know. So
yeah. Study your word, people.
Yes.
Don't listen to us.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So we will see you guys for another episode soon. Thank you so much for writing this out with us, and God bless.